from the blackest corners of your mind, they call, pulling you deep into shadow, twisting your senses, keeping you from sleep. It's time to face your darkest fears. This is Tales to Terrify. Good evening, children of the night, and welcome. Before we dive in, a final reminder that our submissions portal will be closing in mere hours. If you're still putting the final touches on your macabre masterpiece, best light a fire, because time is almost up. Visit talestoterrify.com/submissions for a link to our platform and to slide your work in under the wire before it's too late. Tonight we have 3 tales for you, about the blurred line between myth and reality, putting a price tag on the immortal soul, and the pull of freedom in the face of genetic servitude. Our first story for the evening comes from Obiwulu Chisom. Obiwulu Chisom is a visionary writer, scholar, and entrepreneur passionate about unlocking human potential. An award-winning author, Somzi masterfully blends realism, psychology, and deep narratives to craft compelling stories that captivate and inspire. With expertise spanning writing, tech, and wealth creation, Somzi is dedicated to empowering others through insightful content and innovative ideas. Whether through literature, digital platforms, or business ventures, Obiwulu Chisom continues to leave an indelible mark on the world of creativity and success. Children of the night, join me for Obiwulu Chisom's The Whispering Groves, a Tales to Terrify original.
I was only 10 the first time I heard about the Whispering Groves. My grandmother spoke of it in hushed tones, her voice trembling as if the words themselves carried a curse. In the heart of this village, where the ancient Iroko trees stand, there is a place where the dead speak, she whispered. It is not a story, Somzi. It is a warning. I shivered, but she wasn't done. Children who wander into the grove do not return the same. Her gnarled fingers traced patterns on my palm, her eyes dark with fear. But listen, if you hear your name, never answer. If you do, you'll belong to them. That night, the wind howled through the trees, carrying voices that didn't belong to the living. I convinced myself it was only the wind. But years later, when my cousin Adana vanished, I learned some stories are never just stories. Adana was 14, bold, reckless, the kind of girl who tested the world just to see if it would break. It's just a bunch of old trees, she said one evening, tossing her braids over her shoulder. Old trees and old fears. I remember the moon that night, bloated, red, hanging too low over the village. Adana had gone out with friends, laughing, teasing, daring each other to step closer to the forbidden grove. Only Adana never came back. They found her 3 days later at the edge of the grove, sitting in the dirt. Her feet were bare, her dress torn. She was trembling, rocking back and forth, eyes unfocused. She would not speak, would not eat. "She's cursed," the villagers whispered. My uncle wept. My aunt prayed. But Adana was gone in every way that mattered. That night, as I lay awake, I heard whispers through my window. Soft, almost musical. Then a voice, familiar, close. "Samzi." My breath caught in my throat. I remembered my grandmother's warning, never answer when they call your name. I clenched my fists and buried myself under my blanket. But the whispering did not stop. Adana remained empty. The elders spoke in low voices, debating whether to call on the Edzemwo, the village seer. My mother didn't wait for their decision. She took me by the wrist and dragged me to him herself. The Edzemwo lived in a hut at the village's edge, where the earth smelled of crushed herbs and old magic. His eyes were milky, unseeing, yet he saw things the rest of us could not. When he heard our story, he sighed. "The spirits have marked you, child." His voice was a dry whisper, like leaves scraping against stone. I swallowed hard. "Marked me? For what?" He turned his blind eyes toward me. "They want you to finish what Adana started." My blood turned cold. "You must return to the grove," he said, "before they come for you." My mother protested, but he silenced her with a raised hand. "You know our ways, woman. The spirits do not like to be ignored." I thought about the whispers in the night, the way Adana's eyes had become hollow black pools. I thought about the way the trees had swayed without wind. And I knew I had no choice. That night, I went alone. The Iroko trees loomed, their bark twisted like screaming faces. The moon was too bright, the shadows too deep. I stepped past the forbidden boundary, and the air thickened, pressing against my skin like unseen hands. Then the whispers began. Soft, familiar, close. "Samzi." I gritted my teeth. I did not answer. The shadows moved. Shapes flickered between the trees. My breath quickened as I took another step. And then I saw them. Children, dozens of them, standing among the trees, their eyes glowing white. Their lips moved, but their voices came from everywhere at once. And at the center of them was Adana. Her face was pale, her feet hovering an inch above the ground. I wanted to run. Every muscle in my body screamed for me to turn back, but I was trapped. A voice slithered through the air. "Give us what was taken." My heart pounded. "I don't understand." A chorus of voices all around me. "Give us the name." A sharp pain tore through my skull. Images flashed through my mind. An old burial, a forgotten name, the first ancestor buried beneath these roots. And suddenly I knew. I whispered it. "Obiwulu." The whispering stopped. The figures froze. The trees shuddered. Then everything went black. I woke at the edge of the grove, the morning sun burning my face. The trees stood still. The whispers were gone. The elders found me. Adana was awake, speaking, breathing, whole again. But I felt different, like something had been taken, or perhaps something had been left behind. That night, I dreamed of roots twisting beneath the village, of hands clawing from the earth, reaching, waiting. And when I woke, the whispering had returned. Years have passed. I have never spoken of that night, not to my mother, not to Adana. But I see it, I feel it. The way the iroko trees lean when I walk by. The way the wind carries voices only I can hear. I was marked that night. I had given them a name, but I never asked what they would do with it. Now, sometimes in the dead of night, I hear the trees whisper back, calling me, waiting, and I wonder what will happen when I finally answer.
That was Obiwulu Chisom Pieces, The Whispering Groves, as read by Anne-Marie Lewis. Anne-Marie Lewis has been bringing the written word to audio life since 2018. Her narration work crosses many genres and reflects her varied interests outside the booth: gardening, youth sports, classical and liturgical music, forgotten histories, mathematics, and the search for the best ramen broth. She lives just outside Chicago with her family. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Our second tale tonight comes from J.V. Gachs. J.V. Gachs is a Spanish ESL writer. Her debut novel, Epiphany, was published by Off Limits Press in 2023 and in Spanish by Dolmen Editorial in 2024. As a self-translating author, her second novella, Spooky Lovers, will be published in English by Interstellar Flight Press and was published in Spanish by Dimensiones Ocultas in January 2025. Obsessed with sudden death, ghosts, and bisexual characters, she always writes with a cat or two in her lap. Listen with me, children of the night, to J.V. Gachs' An Hour Before We Met, first published in Dream of Shadows, September 2021.
The devil licks the thin paper, slowly, eyes fixed on his own hands. He finishes rolling the cigarette, puts it in his mouth, lights it, and only when the smoke fills his lungs does he look up at me. Tell me, what mattered to you an hour before we met this afternoon? His deep voice a mere whisper, strangely familiar. When the alarm clock went off 12 hours ago, the most important thing for me was arriving to work on time, being sharp during the meeting, getting the deal, securing the promotion and the pay raise. Had I known the devil himself would offer me a deal before sunset, I would not have hesitated. I would have known what to ask for. Despite my boss's efforts to turn my workplace into a torture chamber, I was eager to make it, if only to prove I could climb that ladder. My soul already felt for sale anyway. But the hours passed and the meeting went to hell in such a spectacular way, just the perfect excuse the company had been waiting for. I was fired, effective immediately. I tried hard to convince myself that these things happen sometimes. I couldn't have done more or been better prepared. The client simply didn't share my view. That's it. Only, deep down, I knew it wasn't true. I've been distracted lately, clumsy, unproductive. Plain lazy is how my mother would put it, with her usual disapproving look. How could I give my 100% under the constant surveillance of a man who wanted me to screw up as much as he wished to screw me? If he had asked me then, I would have gladly given up my eternal soul for the pleasure of seeing the building go down in flames. The devil takes a puff and leans back in the chair, still looking at me. His many rings and bracelets tinkle in a peculiar way as he plays with the smoking paper booklet from which he has cut a corner to use as a filter. I try to remember where I've heard that sound before. 6 hours ago, I finished the paperwork and left human resources. Hurt, but relieved deep down. I managed to hold my tears until I reached the corner. My first impulse? Calling Ernesto. My life has revolved around his schedule for years now. Accommodating the scarce free moments he finds for me has deprived me of sleep, working hours, family meetings, and chances to see friends. It has also granted me an absurd abundance of lost minutes looking at walls, thinking about him. When I dialed his number, I needed to tell him what happened, to hear his voice telling me that everything would be all right, even if it was a lie. No one answered. As I hung up, I saw an email notification. I didn't open it. The subject line was all I needed to see. Cottage. Perfect. I would have to face this alone, while he spent the weekend in a perfect country house, by the fireplace, eating roast turkey and homemade mashed potatoes. The answer would have been simple then, when my heart was aching, as if a murder of crows were pecking at it. But now, under the warm light of the devil's eyes, Ernesto's small heart melting for me, or his miserable throat choking on a turkey bone, no longer look worth wasting my one wish. I lean over the table, steal the cigarette from his lips, and take a puff while he tries to hide a crooked smile. I guess an hour before I met you, I cared about a lot of bullshit. He responds by raising his glass to me, satisfied, and drinking it in one gulp. 4 hours ago, I went to the supermarket to buy wine, ice cream, and pizza in large quantities. My plan for the weekend? Watch romantic comedies on TV, eat until I throw up, and cry until I'm dry. When I pushed my self-indulgence-filled cart into the ice cream section, he was there, leaning against the refrigerator door between the cappuccino commotion and the chocolate chip, as if he had been waiting for me. I guess you don't run into the devil by chance. He had short, curly red hair, Frank Zappa's mustache, jeans, vest, and the moves of a snake. In the 2-liter ice cream section, I didn't expect to find a 6-foot leprechaun who suggested I substitute the pizza, wine, and ice cream with homemade pasta, absinthe, and sex. Now that I think about it, I can't remember the terms of the conversation, as if more than 1,000 years had passed since that encounter, and the details have ceased to be important. I just know that it was so tempting, fluid. After all, the devil is, and always will be, a gentleman to whom you never say no. I've been trying to decide for 2 hours now what I want to sell my soul for, and haven't found anything truly worth it. I put down the cigarette and serve 2 more glasses of absinthe. The sugar burns blue when the music stops. The record spins mute. I get up to turn it over, but he grabs me by the waist and draws me to him. I let myself fall on his knees. Up close, it is almost possible to see the flames burning in his eyes. Tell me, and what is important now? Do you need an answer right away, or can I think about it? I ask, putting my arms around his neck. I suppose I could wait a couple of days, give you time to ponder your options, he whispers, bending over to bite my lower lip. I respond by kissing him for the first time and feel that, oddly enough, my tongue recognizes his taste. It's Saturday morning and we haven't slept at all. My legs are shaking and my hair is a mess. While he's making coffee and naked in the kitchen, I pick up the phone on the nightstand and write an email to my ex-boss, telling him everything I think about him and his shitty company. Send. 5 p.m. He cooks the fresh pasta with salmon that he promised me when we met. I'm exhausted and covered in sweat. I look at myself in the mirror on the door, without makeup, no lingerie, just me. I smile. I leave a message on the answering machine to Ernesto, saying that I never want to see him again, and as a farewell gift, another to his wife. When I hang up, I see that my mother has written me several messages. I go to the kitchen. I hug him from behind while he cuts the fish. I throw my cell phone into the pot of boiling water he has set up for the pasta. He laughs. Sunday. We wake up in my bed. I feel renewed. I am the first morning of spring. I am light. I am a force capable of devouring the world. Reality awaits me outside this cage. Room. I already have an answer for him. Anything? I ask, leaning on his chest. You only have to ask, and it will be granted. Do I have to sign with my blood on a big fat book or something like that? You just have to say it out loud, he says, caressing my lips with his fingers. I want to always feel exactly the way I do now. The devil licks the thin paper, slowly, eyes fixed on his own hands. He finishes rolling the cigarette, puts it in his mouth, lights it, and only when the smoke fills his lungs does he look up at me. Tell me, what mattered to you an hour before we met this afternoon? His deep voice, a mere whisper. Strangely familiar.
That was J.V. Gachs, An Hour Before We Met, as read by Sarah Mehra. Sarah Mehra is a native New Yorker who currently resides much closer to the Mason-Dixon line than she ever thought possible. When not spending time with her husband and 2 teenagers, she can be found listening to horror podcasts or doing yoga to de-stress from listening to horror podcasts and living with 2 teenagers. Thank you, Sarah. Our final tale tonight comes from Blaize M.K. Blaize is a writer and programmer from KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, now living in New Zealand. His work has appeared in Ominana, Nature, and Strange Horizons, among other venues. Listen with me, children of the night, to Blaize M. Kaye's Sulky, first published in Triangulation, Appetites, July 2017.
Tonight is special. Tonight is pasta night. WebMD says that too much meat can be bad for you, so I'm cutting out the meat completely. I found a fab recipe for a no-cream pasta primavera on one of my favourite food blogs. Yummy! My boss is in the other room watching television. I didn't hear him get home, but I smelled him. I smell him now. I close my eyes and inhale. My whole body tingles as the scent of his skin and hair fills my lungs. God, he smells good. I julienne some bell peppers and add them to the roasting pan. I use a 6-inch utility knife for this. My favourite internet cooking show says that julienning is mostly done with a chef's knife. These are anywhere between 6 and 12 inches. The chef's knife in my set is 10 inches, and that's just a little big for hands like mine. Bod's hands, that is. We Bods, trademark NATEC 2027, are about 2/3 the size of a full-grown human, though our eyes are larger. There was a study done around the end of last century that showed that big eyes are attractive to humans, so they grow us like that. My eyes are big, but my hands are small, just like any other bod. Once the vegetables are roasted long enough to bring out their natural sweetness, I remove the pan from the oven and move it over to the prep table, my favourite part of the kitchen. There's a window just above it that opens out onto our backyard and to the beach and the ocean beyond that. When the house is quiet, I can just about hear the roar of the waves. Maybe it's because we spend the first year of our lives in gestation tanks, or maybe it has something to do with how the engineers mixed our DNA. But we Bods love water. Sometimes, when my boss is out, I'll climb into a cold bath and lie back so that I'm completely submerged. Then I pretend that I'm in a huge lake or way out in the ocean, somewhere deep underwater where it's dark and green and quiet. There are other Bods with me, boy Bods too. They exist, but there isn't as much demand for them. And we're all down there floating together in the deep, being carried along by the currents to somewhere just out of sight, somewhere safe. Then I'll open my eyes and I'm back in my old bathroom with the cracked mirror and the door that can't be locked from the inside. I add the roasted vegetables to a sizzling mix of olive oil, butter, garlic, basil and vinegar. I then add the whole lot to a bowl of strained penne. I make sure to mix the sauce through the pasta thoroughly. This ensures that the penne doesn't get tacky and stick together in a gross pasta ball. I learned this trick from another bod, someone I met online on a bod bulletin board. The boards are great. We mostly speak about water, swimming, rivers, drowning, dams, the ocean, stuff like that. But also about the way our bosses smell. Things like Do you think he smells better when he sweats? Consensus is yes. And how do you keep from getting the shakes and sweats when he's out of the house for a whole weekend? Hint, wear his unwashed clothes and sleep in the laundry. Now, just to clarify, we're not body odour fetishists. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We were made like this. Since every human being has a unique scent, the engineers lock our olfactory and reward centres onto the smell of our boss's skin. It's like catnip, heroin, and meth all rolled into one. It's what keeps us happy with them, no matter what they might do to us. It's what keeps us running away from them, say, to the ocean, no matter how badly we might want to. Dinner's ready, I call through the door that opens into the living room. His easy chair cracks and pings as he hefts his not insubstantial bulk from it. I check myself in the mirrored front of our fridge before I present myself. I want to look good. I'm wearing his favourite outfit, blue jeans and a black t-shirt. It's all very tight, but nothing sleazy. There are stores online that specialise in bod clothes. They sell the most god-awful things, leather and rubber and crotchless this and that. Poor bods. My boss isn't nearly as bad as some of the others. There are some ghastly videos online, and some of the stories I've read on the boards are enough to make you sick. I suppose I could count myself lucky because mine hasn't hurt me like that. But he could, so I don't. He's halfway through his second bowl of pasta primavera when I ask, "Do you think you could take me to see the ocean this weekend?" The quick single shake of his head, a clear no, barely slows his single-minded inhalation of pasta. I've asked him this question before, dozens of times. He always says no. Please, just once. I'll never ask again. He stops eating, puts his fork in the bowl with a clatter, and looks at me irritatedly. Firstly, I'm busy. Secondly, I don't like the beach. Too much sand. And lastly, you don't have a costume. Stupid. I don't mind, but his attention is already back on the pasta. Who can blame him? It's delicious. I stand and make as though I'm taking my dishes to the kitchen. Oh, Jesus, don't get all sulky on me again, he says. Maybe I'm just a little sulky, but can you blame me? Instead of heading for the kitchen, I fetch a heavy stone ashtray from the living room table. A gift from his grandmother. A very nice piece. Really solid. I go back to the dining room, walk up behind him, and lift the ashtray high above his head with both hands. Look, it's not that I want to do this, but he's really given me no choice. At the last second, he turns to look at me. His mouth hangs open in surprise, revealing a disgusting mass of half-chewed penne. I bring the ashtray down on his head as hard as I possibly can, and it connects just above his left eyebrow with a meaty thud. Another thing I learned online is that, despite what you see in the movies, knocking someone unconscious is often fatal. Oh well. He slides off his chair and onto the floor. The next part is going to be the hardest. I'm not squeamish, but the best info I've found online is about dressing and skinning deer and other animals. This is way different. You're supposed to hang and bleed the animal before you skin it. I don't have the tools for that, and let's be honest, he's a big guy, and I'm not strong enough to string him up by myself. I also don't have a skinning knife, so I get started with my paring knife. I haven't done a half-bad job considering this was my first time, though it was a messy business. I'm glad I'm not going to be the one cleaning up. I wash and soap the skin and hold it up to the light. It doesn't really look like him. Weird. I don't know why I expected it to. I take a shower myself and change. Then I pack 2 bags. The first has some clothes and my toiletries. The other is a cooler bag. When it comes to tanning hides, there are a few methods recommended online. I've decided to use mayo and eggs, since I had them in the kitchen already. I pack the eggs and mayo into the cooler bag. Then I take the skin, my new skin, and fold it like I would a blanket. It's still warm and clean from the washing. I press my face into it as a seal pup might nuzzle her mother's pelt. I breathe in deeply, and my whole body relaxes and warms, and I think I've done all right. Now I can go wherever I want. I wonder if I'll miss him. I put my new skin into the cooler bag and cover it with ice. I turn off all the lights in the house and step out the front door. The night is cool and smells of just watered soil. I can't see the ocean, it's too dark, but I can hear the waves crashing. I turn and walk towards the sound.
That was Blaize M. Kaye's Sulky, as read by A.J. Fitzwater. A.J. Fitzwater is a feral raccoon, possum, and orange cat driving a trench coat from Christchurch, New Zealand. They have published a variety of short fiction in venues of repute. Their books are The Lesbian Capybara Pirate Escapades, The Voyages of Sinrak the Dapper, and World War II shapeshifter land girls fantasy, No Man's Land. You can find them as A.J. Fitzwater wherever good people are sold. Thank you, A.J. Well, children of the night, the hour is late and we've run out of tales to tell. For now. Tales to Terrify is made possible by the tremendous generosity of our supporters on Patreon and PayPal. Incredible fans like Lestle Baxter, Amanda Carrillo, Amanda Gottfried, and Orion D. Hegre, whose generous support keeps these lights on and flickering ominously. If you're not a supporter, head over to patreon.com/Tales to Terrify. You'll find all kinds of perks, like ad-free episodes, bonus content, and one-of-a-kind collectibles. Every dollar goes back into this show, and we appreciate your support so much. Want another way to support the show that doesn't cost you a cent? Head over to Podchaser, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts and drop us a 5-star review. You'll not only put an unnaturally wide smile on our faces, but help new listeners discover our terrifying tales too. You can show your love of the show out in the world with some Tales to Terrify merch. TalesToTerrify.com/merch will take you to our TeePublic store, where we've got a great collection of creepy custom and curated designs. Tales to Terrify is produced by Seth Williams, Meredith Morgenstern, Andrew Gibson, Crystal Hammond, Spencer Disparty, and myself, Drew Sebastini, with original theme by Nebulous Entertainment. Tales to Terrify is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license. Join us again next week as we resurrect the dead with more Tales to Terrify.